I don't want. Uh-oh.
I'm losing weight, huh?
Good morning, everyone. So it looks like we have 9:03, so we will go ahead and start. So a couple things. Number one, I'm actually working from home today, so I'm actually in my bedroom. And I actually have the door locked because I do have a 5-year-old and I have a puppy who neither one really respect that work and playtime boundary. So anyways, my name is Rush, and thank you so much for joining us today. And this is actually our last morning coffee break for the month of June. And be on the lookout for upcoming topics for July. We have decided to go ahead and expand that into July. We are not going to meet next week due to the holiday. And, I figure people are probably going to be in and out of the office a little bit. So we won't meet next week. So today I will actually be leading this discussion. And, whenever I originally chose the topics for the morning coffee breaks, I didn't really know that we were going to be kind of in the situation of what we are today. So originally, this topic was peace, and we were going to maybe touch a little bit about that. But I was kind of having a hard time about wrapping everything that is happening into what I think could be effective today. So I think what I'm going to do is I just want to share a story with you guys. And then I want to kind of talk about your experience with the morning coffee breaks. So feel free, to put on your webcam and, put some stuff in the chat. But we'll go ahead and get started. And I'm just going to share a story with you. So I want to talk about the story of the carpenter. So there was an elderly carpenter who was ready to retire. And he told his employer of his plans to leave the house building business so he could just live a more leisurely life with his family, with his wife and his kids. And ultimately, he would miss the paycheck, but he needed to retire, and he thought that they could get by fine. Well, the contractor was sorry to see his good worker go and asked if he could just build one more house on a personal favor. And the carpenter said yes, but in time, it was easy to see that he just didn't really want to do it anymore, and his heart wasn't in his work. And what he actually did was he actually resorted to shoddy workmanship, and he didn't use very good materials, and it was kind of an unfortunate way to end his career. Well, when the carpenter finished his work and the builder came to inspect the house, the contractor actually handed the front door key to the carpenter. He said, "This is your house, my gift to you." And it was pretty shocking, and he kind of felt a lot of shame, because if he had only known that he was building his own house, he would have built it a lot better. But now he has this house that he didn't build very well, and I think it actually relates to a lot of us as well, that sometimes we build our lives in a distracted way, and sometimes we react rather than act. And sometimes we're willing to put up with less than the best. And I think whenever we think of ourselves, we need to think of ourselves as a carpenter. We need to think about what kind of house that we're building. We need to think about every time that we put on our shoes and go out there to work and even just go to the living room and spend time with family. I think we need to try to do it the best way that we can. And I wanted to bring this up because whenever we think about peace, a lot of it is balance. A lot of it is trying to find a way that works for you. So, a few different ways is one, being assertive. Being assertive in what you need and the time that you need and the breaks that you need whenever you need them. For example, and I know that I've shared this on previous coffee breaks, and I actually do share it throughout work meetings and everything else. So on Friday, I actually got LASIK, and I was actually attending a work meeting in the morning. And as I was getting off the phone call, I said, "Hey, I'm getting LASIK. Don't call me until Monday." And it sounds kind of funny, and sometimes it's like, "Oh wow, how can you say that?" But I know that I needed that time to rest and recover. And I know there's probably a lot of situations where you guys have those days or have those months where you need that time off, or you need that time to relax, or you just need that time to yourself for whatever reason. And that's ultimately one of the ways we can try to find peace is to know what we need and to share about what we need. And oftentimes too, whenever I think about a situation with just different coworkers in the past or different people that we work with, we can't help anybody unless they let us know that they need help. We can't help make accommodations unless they let us know that they need accommodations. So how can we expect other people to know what we need if we don't share that with them? And also too, I think whenever we think about peace, oftentimes, a lot of times people think of meditation as, just kind of sitting there quietly. But what it could be more about is about grounding. It's about being in touch with nature, being in touch with yourself, and being in touch with just, anything that really inspires you. And also, too, I know that we've already talked about a lot of different coping skills, a lot of different ways to manage stress throughout this entire month of these coffee breaks. So I'm not going to share all of those with you on how we can try to find peace, because I think we talked a lot about those. But there is one that kind of came up, and I thought was kind of interesting. And what it says is avoid trying to change others. And I know that sometimes it can be hard because we have a lot of expectations of others. We have a lot of expectations from people in our family. We have a lot of expectation from people that we work with, or people that we've known since high school, or people that we've known since elementary. But number one is that it can be even kind of hard to change yourself. So even when we look at changing ourselves and changing the way that we act and changing our attitude and changing the way that we function, it's not an overnight process. So we can't really expect other people to do that either, especially if we're not with them 24/7. So number one, I think we need to be true with ourselves. We need to understand whenever we do need that time, and whenever we do need those breaks. So I don't have too much as far as just pure curriculum today, but I did want to ask you, what was one of your favorite topics that we covered during these morning coffee breaks? And during this time, feel free to unmute your mic and share with us what was one of your favorite topics that we covered throughout the month of June.
Would it be like egotistical for me to say stress since that's the one I covered?
Why was it one of your favorite topics?
I feel like we had a really good discussion, and I feel like it was one of those discussions that a lot of people could relate to. And for me, I think it was a really great time to have that discussion because we were going through a lot in the country or as a community at that time. So for me, it felt pretty therapeutic. And even though I was leading the discussion, I tried to avoid having the discussion feel more kind of like a therapeutic group, but at times that's kind of what it felt like. But I don't feel like it got too heavy. I felt like it was a really good discussion, and I think I left with it feeling a little bit better. And I've kind of noticed. I mean, my anxiety and stress has kind of been in a roller coaster. So right now it's really high, but after that discussion, I was able to kind of figure some stuff out, and it got low for a little bit. So just trying to get back to that. But that was probably one of my favorites. That, and I really liked Balance as well, the one that Thomasine facilitated. And unfortunately, I missed the first one, so I didn't get to hear what that sounded like, but I heard good things.
Yeah, so the first one was actually boredom, but it was more of boredom and addiction. And what we talked about was an interesting TED talk that I found years ago. And what it talked about was how, the original study between rats and drug use, and how the rats chose the drugs over, the plain water every time. Well, there was a different gentleman, a doctor, who actually did a new study in the 1960s. And what he did was he gave them plain water, and he also gave them the water with the drugs, but he actually put in different activities so they could actually choose more than just those two things. So he gave them a park, he gave them food, he gave them cheese, he gave them even friends. And whenever he gave them all of these other activities, uh, zero of the rats actually overdosed on the drugs. So what he kind of linked that to was, yes, if there's not any other options, but if there is options, and there is options for connections, options for recreational activities. So instead of being bored, actually giving them something to do, none of the rats actually overdosed. And, I kind of just talked about how we have to find ways in our own communities where we can try to stay busy and try to stay, active, and try to find these recreational activities, even when our hometowns are kind of limited at times. And, even where I live, there's not always, the greatest park or the greatest, you know, a place to go. Really, there's not a movie theater here anymore. Ever since I was a little kid, but I think that we can take the family out for a walk, and I think that we can, go to the park, and we can try to find, the best swing set in town. We can do some of these things, but oftentimes it takes us doing a little bit of work. And that's kind of in a nutshell what we talked about in that first one for boredom and addiction. And it was that, whenever we think about relationships and bonding, that's the true work of prevention. And that's what we talked about. And it looks like Robin LeBlanc says, she says she doesn't think it's fair for her to say, because she did miss a few. So I've just liked hearing different coping skills and dealing with self-care, no matter the topic. Every presenter has done a great job. Well, thank you for that, Robin. And I do think that every presenter has done a great job. And throughout July, I plan to bring on, different presenters again, and we'll probably bring back some of the same people as well. But I really didn't want this to be all about me and all about, our program, because we have such a unique and diverse group of people here at Behavioral Health. And Robin, if you ever want to lead one, please let me know, and let me know the topic. So that was kind of my next thing was, what was one thing that you learned from these morning coffee breaks? And I know for me, I learned to be more mindful of what I'm doing. And Thomasine, whenever she talked about it, when she said, when I'm at work, I'm at work. And when I'm at home, I'm at home. And I think that really resonated with me. So that's why I would like to ask everybody, and feel free to put some in the chat or even unmute your microphone. But what was something that you learned?
I think I learned the same thing you did, Rush, just that work-life balance, because I was the kind of person that I would be afraid to take days off because I felt kind of guilty for leaving some unfinished work at the office. I'd be the same person, and you and I have worked side by side for a while, so this. I would take a lot of work home, and I'd be sending emails very late at night. So if you've ever worked with me, you've probably received some of those 8, 9, 10 p.m. emails in the past. And yeah, for me, I felt like I wasn't ever disconnecting from work, and I was really stressing myself out. So if I can, I just needed to find a place, find a routine where I was just leaving work at work and knowing that work was always going to be there, because I'm never going to be caught up with work. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I'm never going to be bored with work. There's always something going on. There's always fires to put out. So for me, I think learning that work-life balance has been pretty huge.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Has anybody else learned anything during these morning coffee breaks? Well, it looks like people are a little shy today again, and that's okay. You don't have to talk and you don't have to share. But, something that I would like you to think about, we haven't really decided on the official topics for July yet. Is there one topic that you really want to discuss for July? It looks like Cassie said that she has enjoyed the connection with others. And I think that's also one of the things that I learned during this time, was that no matter that we all work different departments, and we obviously probably have a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different even opinions and thoughts and these type of things, but it kind of seems like we all struggle with a lot of the same issues. And it seems like we all, have various times where we kind of, life can kind of be a roller coaster. Some days we feel good, some days we don't really feel that good. And whenever we think about peace in general, we think about our choices, because our choices today and our habits that we're building today will essentially lead the life that we want to live in the future. So thank you for sharing that, Cassie. Is there any topics or anything that you guys want to talk about in July? All right, it looks like Michelle says that she has been watching the previous coffee breaks on YouTube, and so far balance is her favorite. When Thomasine states that she gets home and changes clothes to change into being home was really good for me. That disconnect between work and home helped me with my daily transition. And yes, I think that's a great point to point out, Michelle. And I know that that's something that I really tried to incorporate as well. And I don't remember if Thomasine told me or somebody told me, is when you get home, change. And, when you get done with things, change into comfy clothes and kind of put that behind you. And I know that's something that I've always tried to do. And sometimes, as soon as I walk in the door, my daughter is basically, grabbing my leg and won't let me go. And I'm like, oh, hold on, give me just 5 minutes and let me change. Let me put on some shorts and a t-shirt, and we'll go in here and we'll color and we'll play and we'll do all these things. So I know that, yes, that really helps me as well. And thank you for sharing that, Michelle.
Rush, I know we've kind of discussed some of the upcoming topics. Did you want to maybe give like a little teaser on what we're going to be discussing, or are you wanting to keep that a secret?
No, we don't have to keep it a secret. I know that I actually left my. I actually have a little post-it note that has kind of our upcoming topics, but I actually left that at the office, and I probably won't be back to the office until later this week. But I believe that we had a number of things on there. One was self-esteem. One was anxiety, or maybe even calling it overthinking. Another one was even sleep hygiene. So Jamie McCoy with our expert program talked a lot about how our sleep routine and what we do whenever we go to sleep and whenever we wake up actually plays an important role in how we feel each day. So we thought about talking about that. And then one was gratitude. Gratitude is very important. And it's also important whenever you think about youth, because that at times is kind of one of the least things that they like to show. but it's one of the most things that adults like to see, right? So that's kind of tough, and we might talk about that connection. Another thing that we thought about talking about was how are we talking with our youth, and more specifically, how are we talking about to youth during this time of kind of this pandemic and these type of things, because I know that it can be kind of stressful whenever some of your older family members or just parents or whatever age you are might want to be wearing a mask and might want to be taking care of themselves, and then oftentimes we might see a youth that is a little bit more laxed on that, because at times too, whenever you're younger, sometimes youth feel more invincible and those type of things. So those are just a handful of topics, and obviously I need to start narrowing them down pretty soon, but that's kind of what direction we kind of plan to. So, what do you think, Tyler?
I love it. I'm really excited for the self-esteem one. I will go ahead and say I don't want to present on that one. I'd be a hypocrite. But I'm excited for whoever you choose, and I'm just excited, excuse me, for that discussion. And sleep hygiene sounds like a good one. I need to learn too, because I don't sleep a lot either, as you can tell.
Yeah, and Jamie, Jamie actually was the one who actually shared this story with me today as well, and I think it does ring true, because I think a lot of times, we don't always know what kind of situation we're getting into, and we might not always give our best. But I think if we look at ourselves like that, and we can kind of think about how we're acting is actually affecting ourselves, I think it will make a big difference on what we're doing. But she kind of brought up sleep hygiene, and she talked about getting into that routine, and not only routine for yourself, but routine with your family, routine with your children, and even your pets and those type of things. And so I'm kind of interested in that, and I haven't quite persuaded her to get on here and present that for us, but I've been trying.
You talking about JMac?
Yes, Jamie McCoy.
Yeah, she'll do it.
I don't know. She's kind of hesitant. I've been trying to get her on for a while. But something else with these morning coffee breaks, and this is kind of what I envisioned it to be, was just more of a conversation and kind of a discussion. And I do thank you all for who have hopped on the call today. I know we didn't get the email out through public relations, and that's actually my fault. I had to leave early yesterday, and I didn't expect to, so I do apologize about that. But hey, it happens, and we're here. But Tyler, do you have any last minute things you'd like to share?
Yeah. What has been? We still got some time to kill. What was your favorite topic that we discussed?
I think my favorite topic was joy, and one of the reasons why is because, number one, I really always enjoyed hearing Bristol speak, and not because I'm his biggest fan or anything, but I do think that he is a very good influence on a lot of us, and he's a very good influence whenever we talk about joy and we talk about kind of how to carry yourself. And I also thought it was really good, and how he kind of got personal, and he kind of talked about some of his situations, and he actually brought them into the discussion. And I think that it was kind of interesting to see that a lot of the ways that people talked about how they try to take care of themselves all related to physical health. And obviously there is a big correlation between physical health and mental health, and I think it's important that we continue to emphasize that and continue to think about those things. And I would say that was my favorite topic that we discussed.
I wrote down something you said too about the topic today, which is about being assertive, and I think that would be possibly a great topic to talk about as well. How do you find that balance of getting what you want out of life? Because I've just been seeing a lot, and I've had a lot of friends, and I've experienced this myself, where you kind of just become like a people pleaser, and we've kind of talked about this too, being a people pleaser and just kind of letting people step all over you, so and that can be pretty damaging to what you want out of life. So maybe we could have a conversation about how do you be more assertive and exploring that balance between being assertive and aggressive, because there is a fine line. But maybe just kind of honing in on how do you get what you want.
No, I think that's a very important point, and that's also why I kind of brought that up a little bit, and I know I kind of jokingly say that, and what I've told Tyler before, we'll be working on something from 9 a.m. until 11:45, and I say, hey, I'm gonna go work out. Don't call me for an hour, and I know that a lot of people don't really always say that, but I know that rings true for me, and I try to say it in a jokingly manner, but I think that is important though whenever we do look at ourselves, because even when we think of somebody who works 40 hours a week, and when they get home they're like, I just want my 1 hour by myself, without the family or without the dogs, and I just want that time. Well, we also need to think about who else is in the household, because I know that my wife is a stay-at-home wife most of the time, and she needs that time too. So I know what we did yesterday. She said, I'm gonna go and watch TV, and you hang out with our daughter. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And we actually ended up hanging out for 2 hours, and she got that time. But the fact that we try to communicate that as much as we can really makes a big difference for us, because she said, I feel like I haven't had any time to myself. Okay, all right, we'll go in here, and I think we watched a Disney movie, and then I think we colored some, and I think we made a sandwich or something. I don't even remember, but she does remember those times that you spend time with her. But yeah, I think that's a good possible topic, and it's important to remember that, and that's basically what balance is finding that balance between what do I need to be doing, what do I want to be doing, and how can I try to separate some of that too. And Michelle said that she likes that topic. And okay, it looks like we have Gina Powell. She said, oh, actually we were talking about something else, but she said, I'm actually drinking coffee again instead of Red Bull. And she said, thank you all for taking your time to present, and I'm looking forward to the next month. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that, Gina. But yeah, I think there are a lot of possible topics, and even if it doesn't have to be a main topic, if you guys feel like you need to, you want us to share anything, or you want us to cover anything, or if you have any input, please feel free to reach out and let us know. We ultimately want to make this about you as well, and I have actually put our phone number and my email into the chat. So feel free to reach out to us and let us know, because we want this to be a discussion where we can all kind of come in and just kind of share what experiences we have as well. And then it looks like Michelle has actually said, I'm looking forward to the future topics of sleep, self-esteem, and gratitude. But Tyler, is there any big plans you have for this weekend?
Well, I've been working on my bathroom for like what feels like a year. So I think since I'm not doing fireworks and having people over, I think we're just going to really hone in on the bathroom this weekend.
I think every week that we've had these morning coffee breaks, you brought up this bathroom that you're working on.
I know. I'm a broken record because I can't finish it. So the whole world knows that Tyler's still working on his bathroom.
And Vanessa in the chat said that she enjoys these meetings. So thank you, Vanessa. And I know that, Vanessa, Michelle, and a handful of others have been very active within our morning coffee break. So as we go into July, I want to encourage everybody on here to invite somebody to join in with you. Invite a coworker, invite, a handful of coworkers, your whole department. Invite them to come on and just kind of see what it's about. And that's also, too, why we didn't want to make the topics, even the title of them, kind of too heavy, because we wanted people to be invited. And, we know that it can be hard to talk about a lot of mental health topics, especially if you don't really work in the field. We understand that. And that's not what we wanted this to be about. We wanted this to be a more inviting way of where we could come and we could share and we can kind of express what we're kind of going through during this time. So make sure that you talk to your coworkers, your friends, and invite them to the chat. But I think we are approaching 9:30. So any last minute things, Tyler, that you want to share?
No, I think we're good. I would just just wish everyone safe holidays and take care of yourself.
All right. So I hope everybody enjoyed, this month, morning coffee breaks. And like I said, we will get out our July topics within hopefully by next week. And then we'll kind of start back in a couple of weeks. So we won't meet next Tuesday. So do be aware of that. But thank you for everyone for joining. And, hope you get your coffee and hope you drink your water and take care of yourself. And I hope everybody has a safe weekend. And be careful with fireworks and all of those other activities that you're going to be doing. So thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.